Hi, my name is Flask and I'm a volunteer with the Girl Scouts of the Green and White Mountains, serving Girl Scouts in Vermont and New Hampshire. Today we're going to do an experiment that uses candy to show a principle of geology. Be sure to wash your hands before you start because you're probably going to want to eat this when you're done. Now, it actually matters what kind of candy bar you use, and Milky Way is the best kind of candy bar to do this because we're going to be representing the Earth's crust with it. And if you have peanuts or crunchy things in the way, that will be a problem for you. So the chocolate on the top represents the layer of the Earth's crust, and that can be the seafloor or land. But that's hard rock that just kind of travels around on a layer of molten rock in the earth, and the caramel represents the molten rock, and it's stretchy like molten rock. So this top layer will crack, kind of like the Earth's crust, and the caramel layer will stretch and move. The nougat layer doesn't represent anything, it's just part of the candy, but it kind of helps with the elasticity, so the model works. Now, I've cut the edges off of mine using a knife. You can bite the edges off just as easily. But I wanted my edge to be clean to show you. So first, let's talk about what's going on with tectonic plates. So you probably know that our Earth is not just one big solid ball. There's like a solid core of hard metal in the center, and then there's like all of this melted, molten, that molten is a word that means it has been melted. So there's all this molten rock around the solid ball, and then floating on the top are the plates of the crust. In each of the continents is a plate, and then there's some other plates that go around. But they all float around on the top, and sometimes they pass each other on the surface, and sometimes they crash into each other. And when they crash into each other, one has to go underneath the other. Or when they crash into each other, they both kind of go up like that, and like the magma, the molten rock, like gets squeezed in. And that is part of what's happening when there's a volcano. And sometimes the plates that are already together separate, and it makes a valley between. So this can be illustrated really, really well with the Milky Way bar, which is also delicious. So this actually does a pretty good representation of how the plates move. First, I'm gonna pull apart. And you can see the rift forming as it pulls apart. And then I can put it back together. Squeeze. Crunch. Squeeze. And now mountains are being made. And if you live in Vermont, that's sort of how the Green Mountains got made. But wait, if we press the caramel out, it needs to be softer, but that gets to be more how New Hampshire got made. And the magma comes out from underneath. And then the plates move away again. And that melts down onto each other. Let's make some more mountains. And they can move away. Okay, now that's just a sloppy mess. This time I've put some cuts in my plates so that when I push them apart, I can kind of predict where that's going to happen. And now I'm going to ride one plate underneath another. Watch that fault form. And it gets pushed right up. And I've made a mountain. Now I'm going to pull it apart. And there's a rift. And I'm going to see if I can squeeze magma out. So it's not a perfect model, but you do get an illustration of how the plates move and how they'll separate and how they'll behave when they come together again and how they come apart. And then when you're done playing, you can just eat it. I think that's my favorite part. Wash your hands. So that's it for me today. I hope you had fun watching. I hope you learned something about how the Earth's crust moves, and I hope you get a chance to try this experiment yourself. I'll talk to you later.